What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hidden Horror Podcast, episode number 5. Danny here. I'm your host. Unfortunately, I'm not here with my co host today. I'm just going to do a separate episode, and this is going to be about a franchise that I absolutely love. And the reason I wanted to get this done is because in less than 2 weeks, the sixth film of this franchise is dropping on Shudder. If you guys haven't already guessed it, it's going to be VHS 85, number 6 of the series. I'm super excited to do this episode. I absolutely love these movies. I don't think they get enough credit for what they are. For those of you who don't know, they are mostly found footage anthology films. So there's multiple stories on top of one major story, or one main story, I should say. The main stories normally are kind of like they don't have much to them. All the segments in each film, they they don't like go together in a story at all, so they're kind of all over the place, which I actually like because it gives you a different taste of horror 3 to 5 times throughout the entire film. So what I'm going to do with this episode today, I'm actually going to go over all 5 films, but I'm not going to go too in depth with them. What I want to do is I'm going to rate them from the ones that I personally like the least to the ones I like the most. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to pull one segment from each film, and then I'm going to rank those the same way from the ones I like the least to the ones I like the most. Now, I can say if I was to pick my 5 favorite segments, it's not going to be from all 5 films. I'll get into that. But since I want to give credit to each film, I'm going to just at least talk about one story from each. So, with that being said, let's get it started. All right, so ranking the VHS films. Before I start, it's VHS, VHS 2, VHS Viral, VHS 94, and VHS 99. Those are the 5 current films. With, like I said, VHS 85 is dropping in less than 2 weeks, which I'm really excited about. However, I'm not going to get my hopes up because VHS 99, which was the most recent one released last year, overall, I was really, really disappointed with it, especially because it was the follow up to VHS 94, which was just fantastic. So, with that being said, ranking them from my least favorite to my most, number 5 is VHS 99. So, the reason this gets the lowest ranking, none of the stories were that memorable. There's times where I like try to, when I'm explaining the movie, like all the segments to somebody, sometimes I have trouble actually remembering all of them. Um, there were some cool concepts, but overall, it was a little more on the corny side. The main story was it was kind of annoying and stupid. Um, it's basically about a brother who has a video camera, but his younger brother takes it and makes like stop motion films with those little green army men and a couple little like monster toy figures. It was really stupid. It was really childish. It looks like something like a 12-year-old would do. It just it just really wasn't that good. I watched it over and over a few times to try to get a liking for it. And I don't hate it, but I definitely do not love it. So that is number 5 on my list. Next up, I'm gonna have to go with VHS Viral. Now, I really, really, really liked VHS Viral, but the reason I'm ranking it low is because on top of the main story, there was only 3 segments in it. All the other VHSs are 4 to 5, and in addition to the main story, Viral only had 3. It went by really fast. The segments were really cool, um, but the main story was all over the place. It's basically about a probably like a guy that's like in his early 20s who obviously always has a video camera. He wants to go viral, And on the news, they see this ice cream truck that's in a high-speed chase, just flying around the towns. Cops are chasing it. Um, it has that, and then it goes to like it looks like a nighttime barbecue. It looks like maybe it's like in LA somewhere, and there's like some violence that breaks out. It just comes out of nowhere. It really, really made no sense to me. However, the way it ended with the ice cream truck, I thought was really cool. Um, the guy who wants to go viral, his girlfriend went missing, and he's following this ice cream trucks. He sees it parked down in, I believe they're called like the riverbanks in California, where it's water that runs through, and it's like just a long stretch of like a concrete bank like that, and then flat where the water runs through it. I think those are called riverbanks. He sees the truck down there. He goes in the back. No one's in there. There's a bunch of TVs in there, and his girlfriend's on the screen, just talking all weird to him, and then she starts banging her head on the camera, getting bloodied up, and it's just like it was really confusing. But all three segments in it I really did enjoy. They were unique. They were super cool. Um, so yeah, VHS Virals at number 4. At number 3, I'm gonna have to go with the original VHS. Now, this was such a good flagship for this franchise. All five segments were really good. The main story was really cool. Um, This one's about these like hooligans. They're just like fucking punks. It starts off with them in a parking garage, and they got the video camera out, and they see a girl walking with her boyfriend. They run up on her and like kind of distract the not distract the boyfriend, but like pull him away. And the one guy records the other guy lifting up the girl's shirts. Like they just make like foul films like this that people pay them for. Um, and then it shows them going to some like house that nobody lives in. They're smashing the windows. They're going inside, breaking all the lights, and the guys they're just so fucking douchey. They're so hateable. Um, Now, what the main story is about is someone reaches out to these guys saying, if you get this videotape located in this house, we're going to pay you the big bucks. So they break into this house. There's a guy just in the living room. There's a bunch of TVs, like old school TVs that are all on, and there's a guy just sitting in a recliner, like unconscious, like an old like fat guy. So they see all these videotapes everywhere, and every time they put a tape in, they push play, that's the segment you're about to watch. And they're anywhere from like 15 to like 25 minutes long. Um, so just the way the first segment started off, which it's not even my favorite segment, but it was when I very first saw VHS, like that alone just like drew me right in. So it was a very good beginning film to this franchise. A lot of fun. So that's at number 3. Number 2, I'm gonna go with VHS 94. This one came out 2 years ago. I remember waiting for it to come out. The day it actually dropped, I had a dentist appointment where I had to get 2 teeth extracted. So I was actually excited to wake up to go to the dentist, get this done so I can go home, have the day off of work, and watch the brand new VHS movie. And I was just not disappointed. It's 5 films. The main story really, again, really doesn't have a point. It doesn't have much meaning. It's like a SWAT team breaks into this place, and I don't know. It was really confusing. That's the main stories just don't really have much of a plot in these films, but that's okay because I don't really think these films are meant to have stories. I think they're more meant for the visuals, for the individual stories in them. To me, that's like it's such a good horror element to have. Um, so yeah, VHS 94 is definitely number 2 on the list, and number 1 is VHS 2. Now, overall, I wouldn't say this one had the best segments. It had 4 plus the main story. But with that being said, one of the segments on there, in my opinion, is one of the greatest horror creations ever made, and it has stuck with me since I watched it. Every time I watch it, I get like, I don't know if I got goosebumps, but I'm just so drawn in and just like, this is so fucking crazy to me. And people may not think the same, but that's how I feel. That's why I'm doing this. So yeah, those are my rankings of the worst to the best VHS movies. So next up, I want to get into picking one segment from each and just going over them briefly. However, for my final three, I think I'm going to go a little bit more in detail with them. So let's get started. All right, so starting from my least favorite, obviously, you guessed it, it comes from VHS 99. And I had a hard time picking one out because I pretty much liked all of them equally, but I want to go with something that is kind of cool. I'll explain why. This one is called The Gawkers. Now, what happens in The Gawkers is the two brothers, the older brother and the little brother with the video camera in the main story, this is actually their segment. So, the brother and his three friends, they record everything. They go to the skate park. They try to record like upskirt shots of girls. They're little teenage perverts. Um, so yeah, they're gawkers. Now there's a very attractive blonde girl that moves in next door, and they're constantly recording her. And the little brother's the only one with a conscience. He thinks what they're doing is wrong. So he's outside rollerblading one day, and the girl starts talking to him, and the kid's tech savvy, and the girl was saying she needs a webcam set up in her room on her computer, and he says he knows how to do it. So he lets the brothers know, like, she invited me over to set up her webcam, and they convince him to hack it to now her webcam will broadcast on their computer so they can see inside her room. And he ends up doing it. So one night she's in her room and they're watching what her webcam sees. And the little brother, he feels bad and he's just like, fuck this. And he leaves the room. He doesn't want to be in any part of that. And, as the boys were expecting, the girl takes her shirt off. They're getting all excited because, hot girl, topless, you know, teenagers, you're going to get excited. And then she like kind of like stretches her arm out weird, and then it just snaps up in a way that that's not natural. Like your arm can't snap, and they're just like, what the fuck? Like, what did she just do? And then you see her kind of grab her hair like she's gonna take off a wig, but she pulls her entire scalp off, like just completely scalps herself like effortlessly. And then all of a sudden you see a bunch of snakes start growing out of her head. So it's like a modern day twist of Medusa, which I thought was really cool, bringing like an old mythological creature into a current suburban setting. So now they started like freaking out, like not knowing what's going on, and they hear loud like, "Oh no!" Before that this happens, they look out their window and they can see her in the window looking at them. So they kind of like panic, get a little freaked out, and then you hear just a loud crash on the roof, and out of nowhere, this Medusa girl just pops up in their bedroom. So they instantly know they're fucked. Like, you guys fucked up. Now you got to pay for, gawking at this girl. And so she pounces on one kid and just like she knocks him on the bed and she's just ripping him up. All you see is just her like going like this and just flesh and blood flying. Um, she kills the other two friends. And then the older brother runs out of the room while the younger brother's getting ready to walk in and he tells him to run. And he's confused why, and he sees the girl, Medusa, and he starts pleading with her, saying like he's sorry that he betrayed her, like he didn't mean to hurt her, whatever. And then you just see the kid like start to turn into stone, and that's like the myth with Medusa is she can turn you into stone if you look at her. Um, and the older brother's just watching it happen, screaming. So the little brother turns into stone, older brother, she turns to the older brother, and he's just like screaming, holding the camera, and then you could see him like kind of lift up his hand, starts completely turning into stone, and she just turns him into stone completely, and he's still holding the camera even as like technically a statue. And you just see her like slowly walk up to the camera. You can really see her face. And this is just the one part I didn't like about it. The CGI was kind of bad. Like the snakes looked so incredibly fake. Um, so it almost gave it like a B movie type feel. But yeah, she just walks up to the camera, kind of like roars at it or whatever, and then it ends. So that's one of the segments from VHS 99. Not terrible, not great. Um, all right, so next was VHS Viral. I had a tough time choosing because there's only three. Um, but I'm gonna go with one that I think is just very underrated, and it's called Dante the Great. This is about a guy that lives in a trailer park. He's, not living the richest lifestyle, but he's always trying to do little card tricks, magic tricks for his friends, and he's just awful at it. He ends up coming across this cloak that was worn by Harry Houdini. Harry Houdini? Henry Houdini? Oh, okay. It was worn by Houdini. I forget his first name. Um, but then I guess the legend has it is Houdini, something was going on with it. He got rid of it, swore to never wear it again. So this guy comes across with it, and now he just has like insane magical talent, unrealistic magical talent. Like it shows him practicing in his garage, and he takes a rabbit and like holds up the cloak. He kind of puts it through the cloak, and then 15 feet behind him, you see his hand just pop out of thin air holding the rabbit. So he's like transporting it. So this is when he's just like, holy shit, I'm like a real magician now, like a completely out of this world magician. So he starts booking shows. I forget, I think his real name is John in the movie. I could be wrong, but I think it's John, but he went by the stage name Dante the Great. Um, so he's doing these like exclusive shows where you need like passwords, you need to know somebody famous to get in. You can't just like walk into it. Um, Now he has assistants, attractive female assistants, and they start catching on that these assistants are disappearing. And what happened was Dante, his powers were no longer working. And then he found out that I guess the cloak whispered to him, saying that it needs to be fed like human flesh. And that's how the powers are going to work. So what he was doing was, I guess, like sweet talking his assistants, and then he would sleep with them. And then when they fell asleep, he would just kind of put the cloak over them like a blanket, and they would just eat the girls, and that's how he kept his magic powers. Um, Now, his one assistant, he took like a really kind liking to. She wanted to be a magician, and he kind of refused to show her how he does it. But then he eventually broke and helped her out with like tying like a knot, just like, and then like this crazy knot is tied. Um, so she's being interrogated by the police. She kind of comes clean as to what was happening. SWAT busts one of his shows. Um, they put him in the back seat of the police car, and someone's recording it. And then all of a sudden, it shows like the police officer driving and his hands are cuffed to the steering wheel, and then Dante's outside of the car because he can do whatever he wants with this cloak. Um, they break into one of his shows. They try killing him. He just annihilates this whole SWAT team. Fast forward a little bit. His assistant, she confronts him, and they get into like a little fight. They're like running up walls and stuff because they're both holding on to the cloak, so they both have the powers. Um, she ends up getting the best of him, where she is able to tie a rope around his legs, and then she just like pulls him into the cloak, and the cloak eats him. He's dead. So fast forward again, she takes the cloak, she goes to get rid of it. I forget where she puts it, like in a dumpster or something far away. She's in her room in her apartment. She hears a noise and she opens the bathroom door, and hanging on it is the cloak. And then you just out of nowhere see these big demon hands just grab her. Story ends. Pretty cool, cool concept. Um, there's a lot of details I left out. I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, I kind of did. I kind of did spoil the ending, but there's a lot of cool visuals in it. It was a lot of fun. All right, moving on to VHS 1. Um, I think my favorite segment from this one is called Tuesday the 17th, which was actually filmed no more than an hour from where I live, which is pretty cool. Um, There's a girl who meets these three friends, and she tells them we should take a trip up to this lake and this forest. It's really nice up there, blah, blah, blah. Um, Now, she has been there in the past, and she went up there with three friends, and all of her friends were murdered. She was the survivor. Makes it seem like she's the killer, right? No. So there's a killer up there called the Glitch. Now, what's really cool about this is you can only see it through a video camera, and what it looks like as it gets closer, it almost looks um like a glitch on TV, like when something glitches out, it's got that like staticky, glitchy look, and it makes like the staticky noise. That's the only way to see this killer called the Glitch, which I thought was super cool. Um, so they go up to this lake, and she starts telling the story about like how people were murdered up there, and they're just kind of like, "What the fuck?" And then she just laughs, saying she's joking, whatever. She wasn't joking. Two of the other people, so it's two guys, two girls. One of the other guys and girls go off to go use the bathroom, and then the main girl, her name's Wendy. She tells the other guy, he's recording. She looks at the camera and just says, "You're all gonna die up here." And he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And she doesn't like answer. Then so the other two that went off in the woods, you see them get killed. The girl's a ditzy blonde. The other guy's kind of like a nerd. And she's like, "I want to show you something, but don't tell anyone I showed you this." And then you just see a knife come out of nowhere and just right in the back of her head. It's like thrown at her, just goes right through the back of her head, sticks out of her face, and she's dead. And the other guy is just freaks the fuck out, starts running, ends up getting tripped up. And this was a brutal kill. This glitch took the knife, and when he fell, the guy fell on his back. You just see him like stab the living shit out of his face. It's brutal. Like this was one of the more brutal segments in the VHS franchise. But um, this one's not memorable to some people. To me, it really is because I think it's something completely different than what's always done. Absolutely loved it. So now Wendy's telling the other guy like how she used them as bait to lure the glitch. That's why she said you're all gonna die up here. And he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And like while she has the camera now, and while he's like questioning her, you can see in the distance the glitch slowly moving closer and closer, and then it just comes right up behind the guy and slits his throat. He's dead. So now she's like, all right, I fucking got you. She has traps all set up. She's got like a bear trap. She's got like a little pit. She's got a bed that comes up with spikes in it. She's doing everything to trap this guy. So she starts running. She knows where her traps are. The guy's following her. The glitch is following her. He hits the bear trap, hits the pit, gets out, keeps chasing her, and then the bed of spikes comes up and impales him. And she's just screaming like she just got him. She's like, "I fucking got you." Whatever. And she like walks away and then she turns around. The bed of spikes is gone. He's gone. And then she turns and there's like a tree right there. You see him jump out of the tree and then he just takes the camera from her hands and just bashes her face in with it. And then this part was really, really graphic. Um, it looked really real too. He cuts her stomach open and then just starts pulling her intestines out. And it's pretty brutal. It's one of the more brutal kills I've seen in any movie. Um, So he does that, and then the camera's just laying next to her, recording all of it happening. And out of nowhere, she starts like seizing and twitching, and then her body starts glitching. So it's kind of like now you think she may have just been killed, and now she is a glitch. And then the story ends. Um, definitely, definitely a good one. I really like that one. I think that was my favorite for sure. It's definitely, I'd say it might be my top five favorite out of all the movies put together. Um, All right, so moving on to the next one from VHS 94, it's called The Subject. This was extremely bizarre. It's an Indonesian film director, has subtitles. It's not in English. This is about a crazy surgeon. He's like a master surgeon, but he's fucked up in the head, clearly. He kidnaps people and tries making them humanoid, so like half human, half robot. They're just his creations or his subjects. Um, so you hear the police come knocking on his lab door, and they are, interrogating him, and they end up shooting him and killing him. He's dead because of all the horrible, horrible things he's done. Now, his one subject is, um, it's really weird. She's like a human body, but her head, and she has like her mouth kind of, but the top of her head is just like this big mechanical box thing. This is like an extremely, extremely bizarre sci-fi horror segment. It's really, really good. And it's a lot of fun. This one's a lot of fun. There's a lot of kills in it. It reminds me very similar to the newer Doom video games, kind of just mixed with a little bit of mech in there, like a little bit of biomech. Um, so the SWAT team kills him. They go to open up this one door and they break into it, and then a bomb goes off. It fucks up a lot of these guys, and it just happens to be in a room where one of his big projects was laying down, covered with a blanket. So you see, it shows like one guy that's trying to help another guy, and then you just see a body sit up, and the blanket comes off, and it's this big, fuck, like robotic skeleton monster looking thing with swords for arms, and it just releases mayhem on these people. It's just chopping people in half, chopping heads off, splitting them in half. It goes on and on. It's wild. But the main girl with the robot head, she's she's your protagonist. And all the SWAT guys aren't. So she's got this big monster robot thing to take care of now, and then she's got um all the SWAT team coming after her. She gets like an assault rifle, and this is where it got really cool. It almost looked like a video game because it did a little bit of first person shooting view, and she's just, you know, doing what she's got to do, killing anyone coming after her. Um, the big monster robot guy thing got blown up with a grenade. So that's how that stopped. Um, so basically, it's just her trying to survive this horrible place, trying to like, I don't know if she wanted to get out to actually survive and live because she was no longer human. She had a little bit of like a human soul, but she was, you know, mostly, not mostly, but she was basically a robot now. Um, one of the SWAT guys on the SWAT team was more of a good guy. He was just the cameraman. Um, she let him live, but yeah, it's just goes on where it's just kind of just a bunch of like reckless mayhem, lots of shooting, lots of dead bodies, and the cinematography, like the color grading was super awesome in it. It was very like orangey and red and like hazy. It was awesome. So that's my second favorite one. So now let's get ready for number one. All right. My very favorite segment, probably my top three favorite horror films, even though it's short, of all time, comes from VHS 2, and it's called Safe Haven. This one, everywhere you look online, if you want to like rank the movies or the segments, this one on every site that I've seen on multiple sites is ranked the best segment VHS ever made. And I couldn't agree more. Um, so this is another Indonesian film, and a lot of there's a lot of subtitles because a lot of it's not in English. There is some of it in English though. So this is about a group of filmmakers that go to this school of it's I'll just get right to the point. It's a cult. It's it's a cult where it's very satanic, but it doesn't seem that way. There's a guy there that they call Father, and he's the boss of everything. Um, there's children there, there's young adults, there's adults. So these filmmakers hear about this school, they hear it's special, they think it would be great to bring awareness to it. Father agrees to let them film him, interview him, walk around the facility, and yeah, definitely the vibe that I would have got from it right away, I would have been out. It was too unsettling. So there's like children in classrooms, they're drawing pictures, there's a teacher playing the guitar and they're singing. Um, but still it's like I don't know, it's just the feeling of being there I felt like would have just been like way too chilling for me. So they start the interview and the one girl, there's only one girl and there's three guys. As they're getting ready to start the interview, she's kind of like gagging a little bit. So they ask if she's okay. She needs to run to the bathroom because she had to get sick. One of the other part of the crew, he goes and checks on her. He's best friends with the guy doing the interview, and the girl. They're together. So he goes and checks on her. Um, Now, while they're doing the interview, the battery in the camera dies. So the guy doing the interview has to run back out to the car, change the battery. But he can hear on the microphone his best friend and his girl talking. And she starts telling him how she's pregnant and um, her and her boyfriend have not slept together in a long time. But she cheated on him with the best friend. And now the boyfriend hears that and he's just like obviously pissed off. Like that's complete betrayal right there. So this is that actually is important in this segment. Um, so while he's out in the car, the other two are talking in the hallway somewhere. There's one more guy, the guy that holds the microphone um, on the boomstick and everything. He's just sitting down, and Father's just kind of looking at him weird. Then he sees what time it is, and he whips out the microphone, starts making this big announcement, saying like the time has come, and the guy's just like the sound guy is just like what's going on, like, and before he can even finish saying what he's saying, Father just like takes out a box cutter and points it at him and says, "Do not fucking interrupt me." And it starts getting like really, really tense. Sound guy tries saying something again. Father jumps up on the table with the box cutter out and just gets on top of him. And it's like a first person view where you could see Father on top of the guy and he's got the box cutter just like holding at him. Then it just shows him jam it right in his throat. And you're done there. Like you're done. You're fucked. Then he takes a box cutter, slits his neck open, spraying everywhere. Um, so now everyone starts to realize like shit's going down, and they're trying to make their way out of there. The girl's now by herself, and it shows like people coming up behind her, and it's the main woman that was showing them around, then like four other women, and they just grab her and start pulling her into this room. She's screaming. The guys are running around looking for um, the girl that just got taken. And to me, this was a part to me that gave me the chills. The guys are split up now. One of them's running through a hallway, and he comes into this room where one hallway meets another, and there's just bunch of probably like late teenagers just standing there like this, all in white. And then out of nowhere, they all put a handgun up to their heads and blow their brains out. Just a mass killing right there. Um, so the guy's just like freaks out, like, holy shit. And then you see another guy just run from the other hallway and a guy chasing him with a shotgun. And he, you know, shoots the kid because I'm guessing one of the teenagers had a change of heart and didn't want to die, but you agreed to it, so you're gonna die. So the other teenager killed him with a shotgun. Then he tries attacking our main guy, um, knocks him down, but the guy like kind of flips him over and they're like fighting for the shotgun and the teenager just like kind of like aims it towards himself, blows his fucking head off. And just absolutely crazy. So he starts continuing running through the hallways and he hears gunshots and he sees four people on their knees facing a wall with another guy with a shotgun behind them, just shooting them in the back of the head one by one. The other guy was the main character that did the interview, and his friend was like trying to plead with the guy with the gun, and the guy with the gun just wasn't having it. He kept telling him to stop and wait his turn, and yeah, so now the main character just says like just tells him to go, and the guy that doesn't have the gun pointed at him says, "I'm sorry, man," and he gets his brains blown out. So he's now running, looking for this girl, and he finally finds her on like a surgeon's table, and the four girls that took her are all holding her by like her ankles and her wrists to the table. She's super pregnant out of nowhere, and the guy just kind of rips all their hands. Every time he rips their hands off, the girls just fall over and lay there. Like it's like they killed her, but they all have like demon faces now, no longer human. So he's trying to like get ready to pull the girl off the table, and she's just like screaming, saying to get it out of her, and you can see like her stomach just morphing and like pointy things, like it's just like her stomach is like making sharp points, sharp edges, and then out of nowhere you just see like a spiky tail pop up, and then something just starts to grow out of her stomach, and it looks like like I guess Lucifer, like the what do they call it? It's like the goat version of Lucifer. It's like a goat man type thing. It's it's that's popping out of her. So he starts fucking running. He sees his two friends that were killed. They're now uh like zombie demon type things. He ends up escaping through the whole entire uh facility, gets in the car, starts it, um, starts just driving down the road, like freaking the fuck out, trying to escape. And then you can just like hear footsteps start coming faster and faster, louder and louder. And then like you see the car just like get knocked over on its side out of nowhere, the window shatter. And it was the big devil thing, the big Lucifer goat thing caught up to him and fucking caught him. So the car's upside down now. The guy like kind of coughs, he's bleeding, and he like kind of tries pulling himself at the window. He's all fucked up. And then you just see the demon thing come over the car like right behind him. And this is the only thing that I thought was so corny is he's not even looking at it, so he doesn't even know what it looks like. But this thing just kind of leans over, and it looked like a I don't know, it looked like some animatronic like puppet. It was they could have did a little bit better the way it moved and stuff. But it leans over the car and sees him and just looks at him, and then it says Papa, and I was like, all right, that was kind of like stupid. But I mean, technically, he's right because he's the guy that got the girl pregnant where the goat devil came from. But the guy just, he's kind of like laughing, but like a scared laughter. And it's gross because he has like drool coming out and then like a huge thing of snot's just hanging out of his nose. It was really gross. But, and before I end it, I just want to say like after this goat devil came out of this girl's stomach, it showed her lying on the table and it was clearly like a big doll because her legs were hanging off and they were like rounded. It looked almost like a stuffed animal. It was kind of funny. Um, so between that and the thing saying Papa, those were like the only really two parts they could have improved on, but maybe they thought people weren't going to catch it, or maybe they thought people would think it's scary if it said Papa, but I thought it was kind of lame. But still, like such a fucked up film. Like and again, that's Safe Haven on VHS 2. It's the third segment. Yes, it's the third segment in the movie. Definitely worth watching. It starts around like I think like 40 minutes into the movie. Um, so yeah, those are my VHS films ranked, and then one segment from each VHS. Like fumbling all over my words. One segment from each VHS film ranked. And like I said, those are from what I liked the least to what I liked the most. So I'm really excited for VHS 85. Less than 2 weeks, October 6th, only on Shudder. If you're into horror movies, go get Shudder. It's cheap. They have an awesome selection. That's where you can watch VHS 94 and 99. They are also only on Shudder. The other three, you can find them all on Tubi. Some of them are on Peacock or Prime. Um, yeah, definitely let me know what you guys think. If you've seen these movies, I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. I could talk about these movies all day. Anytime anybody asks me about what horror movies can I recommend, I always go to VHS. VHS and Southbound. That's a new one for me. But so yeah, that's gonna wrap up this episode. Before I wrap up this episode, I've been working pretty hard to promote this podcast, and I see a lot of people go on this website. It's a random video chat website called Omegle. So I was like, fuck it, let me try it. I got my microphone set up, so that kind of helps, kind of draws an attention from people because I can't tell you how many times people have asked me if I'm a streamer or if I'm a rapper. So I tell them, no, I do a podcast. And they say, what's your podcast about? And I tell them, me and two of my friends, we do horror movies that are lesser known. They're not the ones you see in the theaters. They're the ones that you have to like dig for and find, and they're always so much better. So they asked me like, where can they, listen to? And I'm like, well, we're on YouTube. Here's the link. And then they'll just look at it and they'll be like, all right, I just subscribed. So over the past 2 nights, I've gotten almost 10 subscribers to it, which is pretty cool because, it's just, conversation leading up to people following our podcast, which we love. So with that being said, I want to give out 3 shout outs to people that have subscribed that gave me their names. I told them, hey, if you guys subscribe, I'll give you a shout out. So first I want to start with Andrew, then I want to start with Taylor, and then I want to start with Jameson. I let my co-hosts know about you guys. They said, thank you for the support. They love you. I love you. You guys are awesome. And yeah, we're super stoked that you guys subscribed. We hope you like the content. And yeah, so that's going to wrap up tonight's episode. And I will see you guys next time with my co host here. All right, peace out and stay spooky.